Welcome back, guys, to Path for Cloud. So today is our third video in our Docker basic series. So today we will see that some basic command for the Docker, how you can use that some basic command. And apart from that, we'll see that how you can push image to the Docker Hub repository, right? So before that, let me summarize the previous video. So in previous video, what we have done is we have set up one Ubuntu VM on AWS, and there we have uh, installed Docker on top of it, and then we ran one small container called Hello World, right? And then we have the GitHub account as well, where we will push our Docker file that we will see on another day. Apart from that, we what we have done is we have our Docker Hub. Let me see, hub.docker.com, where we have created our account and we have one our repository. So in that repository, what we will gonna do is we will put our image, right? This Docker user. So before that, let me start with that some Docker basic command. So one command is, let's start with the Docker PS. So Docker PS is something that will show you that current running container, right? But as of now, no container running. If you attach -a flag with it, so what it will show you, it will show you all the stopped container. But obviously, as of now, no stopped container as well. So what I will do is I will run that hello world again. It ran, right? And let me clear my screen. And this time, if I'll run docker ps and docker ps-a, so there was one container which was running 12 seconds ago, and now it is in stopped state. So obviously, so docker ps-a will list you stopped as well as the running container. And there is one more command, docker stop. And if you hit the container ID or container name, right? So what it will do is it will stop that container at that time. Docker rm command is something if you want to remove that particular container, then you can use it. So with docker rm, it can accept the name of the container or it can accept the container ID. Let me give the container ID, and it has removed it. If I'll run docker ps-a again, so now you can see there is again no stopped container. But 1 minute, I just mentioned that I need to give the container ID or I need to give the names, but I have just given 75. So what is this 75, right? So let me clarify. If you see closely, the container ID is starting from 75, right? But I did not give the full ID, right? Why? So Docker is smart enough to identify the Docker container ID as long as it is the unique ID against that container, right? Let's say if we have many containers running, right? And there are two container which is starting from 75, right? 75 0 or maybe 75 A, B, C, anything. Then what we need to do is we need to give 75 0 to make it unique, right, among all the containers. So Docker will identify, okay, we are running this RM operation against that particular container. So it will gonna remove that. All right. So the next command is Docker images. So Docker images is something that which will give you the locally available images, right? So as of now we have only, let me try to run Ubuntu, right? If I'll, so what it will try to do first is when we ran Docker run hello world, it started instantly, right? But this time, first it will try to find the image locally where it didn't find. Then it started pulling from the library. Library is nothing, library is your Docker Hub, right? It pulled and it ran the container. If I run Docker images now, so here you can see that now we have the two images. And if we see Docker PS, so obviously there is no container, but there was container which run. But this time the container was started and the same time it was exited. Why? Because container is a set of libraries, set of software, set of packages which is required to run a particular application, right? So in this Ubuntu base image, what we are trying to do is we are trying to run this command bin bash, right? So bash is something which run on the terminal, right? But we are not specifying like where to run it. So obviously, it created the container, but it didn't find any terminal, so it exited. The bin bash process is stopped, and the moment process is stopped, obviously the container will go stop. So this way it will gonna stop. So now the next command we will see how we can make it our Docker keep on running, right? So what I will do is I will just mention IT, which is an interactive terminal, and I will give you the this image name. Okay, sorry, it is not PS, it should be run because we are trying to run. So it ran, right? But this time, what it done is it has taken us inside the container. You can see the prompt has been changed. Earlier it was IP and now it is the container ID. And if you do ls, so you are inside the container, right? And you can see there is a process running bin bash, right? And if you hit the exit button, this process will gonna stop again, right? You can see that though two container was created and both are stopped now. Why? Because once you hit the exit button, what it will do? It will stop the bin bash process, and the moment process is stopped, as we learned, the container will also get stopped. So how we can make it running right in background? So for that, there is a flag called D. D is just nothing. It is a detached mode, right? This time if I run and if I see, okay, this time we have the Docker container is keep on running and in background with the detached mode, right? If you run docker ps-a, so here you can see there are three containers, and from these three containers, there is only one container running in the detached mode, which we run here. You can see 8E1 and 8E1, right? So now we will see how we can get inside the container and we can like install our application or do some stuff, and then we can make it available for other users as well, so that they don't need to do that stuff again. So what I'm trying to convey is like we need to commit all those changes to that image, and then we will push that image to our Docker Hub so that next user will go pull that image, run that container, and it will find everything already up to date. Fine. So let's do that. So to get inside the container, there is a command called docker exec. Execute, we are executing a particular command in interactive terminal mode against container 8E1, and what we are executing that we need to specify here. Right? So what we are doing is we are executing a command against this container in interactive terminal mode, this command, and it gave me a bash prompt, right? So what I will do is I will create a path for cloud directory, and then what I will do is I will just hit some random stuff. Let's say welcome to path for cloud, right? And I will redirect this stuff to let's say docker.txt. Fine. And if I'll try to see, so we have this content available. All right. We can check this uh, stuff from the outside as well. How we can see? Again, this time we'll do cat, and we will see, okay, under root, there is a directory called path for cloud, and under that there is a file called this one. So you can see, right? Or you can run the ls command as well. Like whatever the command your application support, you can execute it from the outside. You don't need to get into, and you can directly, you can see the path for cloud directory it is listed, right? So that is the way we can do. So now we have this container is running, right? But we stopped the container, right? So obviously we will lose this data. So how we can make it available inside the image? So for that, we have command called docker commit. We need to give the image name, or maybe, oh, sorry, container name or the container image ID, right? And then we need to say, okay, I will create a, let's say, my Ubuntu. All right. So container is still running, but we have one new images came called my Ubuntu, right? So this image we have committed from this running container, and if I run this docker run -it, and let's say I will name it as my Ubuntu, right? And if say we have this path for cloud already there, and the content is already there. All right. So now we have the images, right? But we want to make it available on our repository. So for that, we need to tag it to our repository name, right? Because these images are coming from the Docker Hub repository. So that is the master or the parent repository for all. So that there you don't need to tag it. But for us, we need to tag it. We need to make it understand, okay, this is something that we are pushing it to Docker user 604, which is our repository name. Okay. Now I have tagged it and you can see that again we have the new images is this one, right? So before pushing, what you need to do is you need to log in. I already logged in, so that is why it is giving me. But for you, once when you do the first time, right? So it will ask you to log in. It will give, maybe it will give you a URL and the activation code. You can copy that URL, go to the browser and pass this activation code and authenticate against your Docker Hub, and you will be logged in. Or what you can do is you can just pass your Docker your username here, and it will prompt for you password, and then you can give your pass. I think I wrongly pasted wrong password. Let me pass it again. All right, so you can see again it is logged in, giving us the succeeded message. Now I want to push it, right? Now let's say Docker push, and let's say it is preparing and it is pushing this to our images. It is pushed. Let's refresh your repository and it should show your first image. You can see, right? Now, what we will try to do is we will remove everything locally from our system. We will pull our image from our repository and we'll try to run one container and we'll see whether that path for cloud and docker.txt file is still there or not. All right. So let's start. So what I will do is I will just remove first all the container. I will just say docker ps-a q and I will hit enter, and you can see all are gone. If I'll say docker images, so I will just remove the docker image. First I will remove the docker and then I will remove the my Ubuntu, then I will remove the Ubuntu. So now we have only one image called hello world, right? Now what I will do is I will pull the my Ubuntu image, but I will gonna push from my repository. Fine. Let's see what will happen. Okay. Now let's say Docker images, and we have that image is already there. Now let's try to run the container from it, and we can name our container, right? My Ubuntu with the flag of dash dash name. You need to specify like this way. My Ubuntu, and you can specify the image. Image is always will be the last argument. Whatever the additional flags you want to pass, right? That should come before the image always, right? Let's run it and let's see. We have path for cloud is already there, and we have the our content is already there. Fine. So this proves that you can make it available. If new user also come, right, or if in your system you trying to pull it from this Docker user 604 my Ubuntu, you will find the same stuff, right? Now let's say I have this images available, right? And you can see that it is something called tag latest. What is tag? Tag is nothing. Tag is just a version of your images. Let's say this is your application image and it is running fine. Now your customer asked to enhance some feature, right? You have made some changes to your application, and before pushing it to the repository, make it latest, you want to test something, right? So how you can do it? What you can do is you can again the same stuff. You can launch one container, you can make some changes, you can commit that. Let me do one again stuff for you. -it -d and I will say Docker Ubuntu, right? And we can see Docker PS. We will go inside this Docker exec hyphen IT F3 and I will go bin bash, right? I am inside. This time I will create one more directory, new app. Fine, let's say new app we have created. Here you go. Now I again exit and I have that container still running. So what I will do is docker commit. Okay, I will give the ID and I will give the name this time v1. Fine, and let's say docker images and docker ps. So one is running this, right? Let me stop or remove this container again and I will show you what we are trying to do here. Now there is one container running. Let's remove was running that was 45. Let's remove this as well. Now no container running and you have two images, right? Come on. You have to, one is latest. What I will do is I will just hit one dash dash name equal to old. All right, and I will give the latest. Once you have multiple images and you want to launch the container, right, then that time you have to specify the tag and you can specify how. You can put the semicolon and give the tag name. Okay, and I will give one more. This time I will use v1 and I will give new, right? So we have two container running. I will do the ls exec hyphen it. I will say new and bin ls. So here you can see we have new app, right? And the same stuff I will do against old one. Here you can see there is no new app. So now you want to see, okay, this is something that you want to make it latest, right? So what you can do is you can remove that latest one image and you can tag it to the latest again v1, right? And then you can make it available to the uh, users and then it will be your final image for your new application. All right, so that is how we can tag the images. So in next video what we will see that how we can persist our data, right? So this time if you are doing something changes in your application and if you lose or you crash your container, right, you will lose your all content. There is no backup or something. So to persist all the data inside the container, what we have is we have something called Docker volumes, right? So we will see in next video how we can leverage the Docker volume to persist our data. And if time permits, we will see, I will just introduce the Docker network as well. All right. So I'll take a pause from today and I hope you liked my content. So please subscribe my channel and hit the like button, share it with your friends, colleagues. Okay, so meet me in next video. Thank you. Bye bye.